Welcome back to American Wing Chun. I am Siu Nim Tau, and in this video, we will be going over the third set of the Chum Kiu form. This is now where you can tell it's a completely different form from Siu Nim Tau. The movements are very different, and this is the longest set in the whole form. We got a lot of movements to go over, so let's get started here. So we'll start from the very beginning and go all the way to this set, and you'll see how different this is. So the arms and knees bend at the same time, toes out, heels out, hips are forward, left hand on top and down, rotates up and back, punch with the left, circle, punch with the right, and circle that. That pulls back. Now set number 3 starts. Both hands are going to open and the palms face each other, and I press my elbows forward in front of my body so that my arms are parallel to each other. They're like train tracks. The width of my ears is how narrow that wants to be. So don't be too wide, but also don't be too narrow. So the width of my head, and my fingertips are roughly at the height of my collarbone, the top part of my fingers here. It's very important that when you do this, that the fingers are pointing very straight. So this is our preparatory position before we do the Chuen-Sau. Chuen-Sau is piercing arm. This is an eye strike with the thumbs, using the whole hand to guide into the eyeball. So the hands go here, 1, and then 2, that shoots out. And you want to have some force to that. When you do this, this is very elastic, it's very relaxed, but although it's a relaxed position, my fingers are still straight. When I pull my hands up, you can see there's this bend in the wrist, and it has this whip-like effect. But as I do that, I keep my fingers pointing straight. So I don't want my fingers to curl in this way. Your force tends to flow out of your hand the direction your fingers point. And if they're bent, it's kind of like an arrowhead. If the arrowhead's bent, it's going to make the arrow go off course. You want it to be very straight so that when it shoots out, even though it's relaxed, it continues to point through and forward with the strike. So this comes up and out. My arms come up to the height of my head and pierce forward. Boom. There's also some spine movement with this. You're not trying to exaggerate this motion, but I like to tell my students it's like you have a hook right up underneath your sternum, and it's pulling your chest up. So it's kind of high up in the body. It's not like your whole back bends backwards. It's the upper spine that kind of flexes as this goes. In my head, where if I was here, my gaze is level with the floor. When I do this strike to the eyes, my head kind of tilts up, and I'm looking through my hands when I do that. So this goes 1, 2, and then the very next movement, my left hand goes on top for a double Lan-Sau, and I turn. So if I'm on this line facing forward towards the camera again, I do this 1 preparatory movement. Chuen-Sau is 2. Left hand goes on top to Lan-Sau as I start to turn to my left 90 degrees. So now I have to explain how our stance turning works. In our lineage of Wing Chun, we always only pivot 1 foot at a time, and we pivot on the very center of the foot. If I pivot on the heel of my foot, my stance gets wider. If I pivot on the ball of my foot, my stance gets more narrow. If I pivot on the very center of that foot, the distance between my feet stays the same. So you have to find that center point of your foot and pivot around that. You can even get like a bottle cap or a marble and put on that spot on your foot and practice rotating that foot around that marble or bottle cap, whatever you put on your foot, to try that. And you get used to where that point is. So some other lineages, they'll turn both feet simultaneously, and they'll keep their spine on an axis where they shift all together, whether they pivot on their heels or their balls or however they do that. That's different than what we do. We pivot all the way on the center of the foot, and we shift all of our weight onto our back leg. So my weight distribution here is 100% of my weight's on the back leg, 0% is on the front leg. So from this part of the form, this goes out, left hand goes on top of the right, turn to my left, all of my weight shifted onto this leg, and then I just relax this foot. If I try to turn that foot, it tends to go past that 45-degree angle I want it to be at, and the feet are no longer parallel to each other. So another thing about the stance, this is a 90-degree triangle, so that when I turn one foot parallel to the other, that is a 45-degree turn. When we do a 90-degree turn, it's the same movement. It's just the only difference is the upper body turns fully 90 degrees, while the feet are staying at that 45-degree angle. So I don't want to turn, say if I'm facing towards the mirror here and I turn towards the camera, I don't want to turn my front foot pointing straight. That creates a line up the leg as a ramp where they can kick to your groin. If my foot is turned, this shin actually now points off to the side while my body weight's on that back leg and they try to kick up the line. It deviates them offline with that kick. My knee is also on this line. So my hips to my knee make a wedging shape. And also my punch, if I'm punching down the center, my arm creates a wedge from the center out to my shoulder. If I still have a bend in my arm, that angle still wedges out to the elbow, which is also in line with the shoulder. There's a lot of concepts and theories and details here, but this is how we do our stance turn. All the weight shifts, the foot relaxes. If you relax the foot, it will naturally turn 45 degrees. You don't have to think about it. If I try to turn it, it'll go past 45 and go more 90. If it's doing that, that means you're trying too hard to turn it. If when you do your stance turn, it doesn't turn far enough, it means you're holding too much tension that you need to relax, which will naturally turn your feet parallel to each other. So in our lineage of Wing Chun, when we do our footwork, we have either this 90-degree stance position where the feet are perpendicular to each other, or where the feet are parallel. There's not really any in between. There's some pieces of the Chum Kiu form, for example, where your feet start together. This is a position where your feet will be pointing straight, where they're not 45 or this way or that way, or they're parallel. They're parallel now, actually. And then there's another piece at the end of the Chum Kiu form where we do a stance turn to face the center, where one foot's pointing 45 degrees, one foot's pointing 90 degrees. Those are just transitional positions to get to our next place where the feet are going to be parallel, or we'll turn them in and we'll be back to this 90-degree angle. So there's a lot of details to the foot positioning to make your footwork uniform so you can rely on it when you're in a fight. You don't want that to be the variable that you have to deal with constantly changing and not knowing where your feet are. You know that you're always in your stance. So if I'm turning, just like in this part of the form again, I'm turning to my left 90 degrees. My body is completely square towards that wall. I'm going to then turn all the way around 180 degrees. When I turn, this foot is going to pass into the stance before it goes to the other side. And then when I turn back around, we turn 3 times. I turn to the stance, then I turn to the other side. All of my weight is on that back leg. My spine is straight in line with the floor. There's no weight on that front leg. And that's how we do those turns. So we turn from one side to the other. It always goes to the stance before it goes to the other side. Even if you turn without stopping, it's still going to have a transitional point where you're in your character 2 stance, where you're in that triangle position before it goes to the other side. Even when you do it fast, it still has that transitional position. So you always have a stable structure with your stance. It's very important to do that. So starting with the third set again from the very beginning. Here, double Chuen-Sau, Lan-Sau facing to the left hand on top, turn to the right, and then turn to the left. We have 3 turns. Now from here, both hands are going to make a scissoring motion. You're going to have a double Fook-Sau position. The elbows come down and the wrists spread apart and separate. So if I do this facing towards the camera, there's some space between the hands, but they do this. The elbows squeeze down together, and you have this double Fook-Sau position. Very similar to this thing, or in Siu Nim Tau, where we did this. The arms are in this position, they're just palm down. So on my third turn, I do this double Fook-Sau, and then I'm going to turn my left hand palm up. My right hand goes over top of that forearm, and I'm going to pock on the center of my forearm. Don't pock the wrist, don't pock the elbow, pock in the very center of the arm. The other arm is basically in a Lan-Sau position when you do that. Don't have that elbow down, have that elbow up and out. This is important for defending their other hand when you're pocking on the inside of someone's arm. So you pock that, your Tan-Sau hand lifts and pushes forward at the same time that you do that. And so this is a Tak-Sau, a lifting arm, and a Pak-Sau simultaneously. And you do 3 of those. So we're here, this comes out, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, double Fook-Sau, pock the left hand first. The right hand's doing the pock, you're pocking the left hand. You're pocking the hand that's furthest away from the front. 1, and then 2, and then 3. Then your left hand goes onto the center. So it looks like that. It was here, now I'm here. I'm going to palm with my right hand right down the line. My left hand does an outside side palm, outside Pak-Sau to the elbow. And I fully extend my palm. And then that hand goes to Wu-Sau in the center. I then palm again, outside Pak, into the center with this Wu-Sau that you see back here. And then on the last one, I go outside Pak and then all the way back to a fist. So on the last Lan-Sau that you turn, double Fook-Sau, Tak and Pak 1, 2, 3. Hand is on the center. 1 palm, Wu-Sau, palm and Wu-Sau, palm and pull that hand back. And this palm strike wants to be parallel to the floor with your arm, just like your punch was at the beginning of the form. You're really stretching that. And then you're going to turn back to Lan-Sau to the center and turn to the right 90 degrees. You do all that in one motion. So you've done this palm, Lan-Sau across. And all the weight's on the back leg, and we're in a 90-degree turn position. You're going to open your left hand and push double Tan forward. And this should look just like in Chum Kiu at the beginning of the form or Siu Nim Tau, but I'm just in a turned position. So if I was here, boom, I open my left hand and I push like gears meshing together, but without touching. I don't want to touch this and then roll it physically. I want the positioning to be timing as if it's rolling gears together to double Tan, and the left hand is on top. So that opens and we're in double Tan. And now we have the Bong-Sau and Wu-Sau. The bottom hand that's in the Tan-Sau position goes forward like the Bong-Sau in Siu Nim Tau. So from here, facing the camera, you can see this angle. It goes to Bong-Sau, and simultaneously the top hand goes to Wu-Sau. So you go Wu-Sau and Bong-Sau simultaneously. From there, you are going to go Bong and Wu, turn to your center, and then leaving your wrist of your Bong-Sau on this line, you're going to turn 45 degrees facing offline. Your Wu-Sau stays connected to your body and turns with you. Your Bong-Sau stays disconnected from your body and does not turn with you. And so I have the wrist of my Bong-Sau in line with my shoulder. It's all now on this line. So your center line pointing through your center to their center, when you do a stance turn, your shoulder becomes that center line. And that wrist of the Bong-Sau is on that line. Bong-Sau elbow is 135 degrees, which is 90 degrees plus 45, or 180 minus 45. It's halfway between fully extended and bent at 90 degrees. So you have that 135 degree angle. And then you're here. This Wu-Sau is on your center, pointing 45. This is on the center of that line. So that's 1 Bong-Sau. We do 3 Bong-Saus. This set of Chum Kiu has each piece, you're doing 3 repetitions of it before you do the other side. And then you're going to pull your Wu-Sau hand back to this fist position, and your Bong-Sau has a very small movement, goes to Lan-Sau simultaneously with your turn. It's almost like your Wu-Sau doesn't go anywhere. You're just turning back into your stance. We're going to turn 90 degrees back to the right. Double Tan. Bong-Sau, Wu-Sau clicks into position. Then the body turns. We're back in that same alignment again. Then I come back again. And another detail is very important with the Bong-Sau when you turn in the Chum Kiu form. We have this motto: when the elbow is moving, the body is not. When the body is moving, the elbow is not. So what that means is I do not lift my elbow and turn my body at the same time. I lift my elbow for Bong-Sau, and as soon as that clicks into position and it's done moving, then my body can move. But I'm not doing those simultaneously. So when the elbow is moving, the body is not. When the body is moving, the elbow is now locked to the body, and it doesn't move anymore. So that's the Bong-Sau. And after 3 Bong-Saus, you're going to take your left fist, put it in the center of your chest, like in the Siu Nim Tau form. So go back to those videos and watch that. And you're going to punch, rolling this bottom hand to Tong-Sau, pull all the way back. And now you punch at your nose in the mirror, if you have a mirror to your side. So from here, left fist goes to the center of the chest. I punch to my nose or at my face. I turn back to the center with Lan-Sau. When my stance is stopped, my Fak-Sau, Wisking-Arm, continues forward and out to the side. Boom. Then I sink my elbow and pull my Fook-Sau back in. Tong-Sau goes to the elbow. Hand opens, slide my Tong to my elbow, and then I slide my top hand across my arm, and I go pinky across pinky, and stab my hand out for another Chuen-Sau. So the Chuen-Sau again is the piercing arm that we had at the beginning of this part of Chum Kiu, the set. I'm doing another Chuen-Sau with one hand straight out. This is the exact same position as our fist was. The hand is just open. All the fingers are stacked on top of each other here. It's exactly down your center. The hand goes flat. You then circle that hand, and then you pull that back. Then you do all of that on the other side too. So from the very beginning, I go here, Chuen-Sau, left hand goes on top, still doing the same side, left, right, and left, had those 3 turns, double Fook-Sau, then 3 of these Paks, 1, 2, 3, hand goes on the center, then 3 palm strikes, 1, 2, 3, and then turn with the Lan-Sau all the way across, double Tong, now we have 3 Bong-Saus. Bong, click, and turn. 1. Bong, click, turn. 2. And then bong, click, turn. 3. And then you're back for one last Lan-Sau before you put your fist in the center, punch to your nose, Lan-Sau to the center, Fak-Sau to the side, and you look out at your hand. The hand comes back, Tong to the elbow, Chuen-Sau straight out, circle, and back. And then the right side. Both hands go out. Right hand goes on top. Turn to the right first with the right hand on top. And number 2, turn. And number 3, turn. Double Fook-Sau. Pak the far hand away from the mirror if you're facing a mirror or the camera. So Pak 1, 2, 3. Hand goes on the center. Palm 1, 2, 3 back to a fist. Lan-Sau all the way across, double Tong, Bong-Sau clicks into position, turn and turn. You should be 45 degrees. But your nose is pointing at your nose if you're facing a mirror, and I recommend using mirrors when you're doing your forms. And then you're going to go back. Bong-Sau number 2, and then you're back. And then Bong-Sau number 3. You're back one last time, fist in the center, punch to your face, Lan-Sau, Fak-Sau, Fook-Sau, Tong to the elbow, pinky across pinky, Chuen-Sau, Tong-Sau, Chuen-Sau, In-Sau Kuen, withdrawing the hands. Right foot points straight, left leg drags over, arms relaxed. That's the 3rd set of Chum Kiu. It's a lot of movements. Usually when I teach this, I stop people when they're here. They do their Chuen-Sau, they do 1, 2, 3, and then have them just pull their hands back and do the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3. And then this piece I'll leave for the next class so they get to just practice those parts of the turns and how to do the Lan-Sau, how to do the Chuen-Sau. Because that is a lot of movements to do all in one go, especially when you have limited time in class and there's other students. You have to pay attention to. So I'll do the whole thing from the very beginning of the form. Arms up and knees bend simultaneously. You open your stance. That goes together, up and back. Punch, punch. Chuen-Sau. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. There's a detail with that Bong-Sau I'll explain after this. Then the right side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Double tongue, Bong-Sau clicks into place. 1, 2, 3. Fist in the center, punch to your nose. Fak-Sau, you always look at your hand when you do that. Fook-Sau, Tong-Sau to the elbow, Chuen-Sau out, Tong, Hyun, and back. So that's all of set number 3. When you're doing this Bong-Sau, there's a beginner way to do it, and there's a more advanced way to do it. The beginner way is the way I taught it when I was teaching this just now. You fully go to Bong-Sau, and you turn your body to the center. There's a long time that you're open. Boom. And then you're finally there, and then you turn 45. So the complete angle is a 135-degree turn, actually, kind of like the angle of the Bong-Sau. It's an interesting detail. But when you're more advanced, you no longer do a full Bong-Sau first. You bring the elbow up kind of in a Lan-Sau type position, but the palms facing forward. And so this is already close to this line that I'm going to be on, and then I go that way. So I'm still doing, when the elbow is moving, the body is not. When the body is moving, the elbow is not. But I'm doing it with a smaller movement instead of being so wide with it. This now becomes a lot more narrow. And there's the separation of the body and the arm, or the wrist specifically. And then you pull that back. And then the detail here, I want to punch from my nose. I break my arm from being fully extended. I break it into a Lan-Sau in the center. And then from here, the Lan-Sau angle, like in Siu Nim Tau, gets wide for the Fak-Sau, the Wisking-Arm. The 90-degree angle at the elbow, the angle only gets bigger as it goes out to the side. And I look at my hand as it goes out to the side. In the beginning, you look with your whole head to make sure you're looking. But when you've done the form for a while and you're more advanced, you only look with your eyes. And then you look back to the center and pull that back in. There's a stretching motion that happens from the Fak-Sau to this Fook-Sau. You roll the elbow down, bring the elbow in, and bring that whole arm to the center. And then another detail on the Chuen-Sau here, I want to have my hand go down this line, and then once it's freed, is when I pull this hand back. I don't want to go simultaneously. I wait for this hand to cross first, and then I pull this back, kind of in a relaxed way. I'm not trying to do a push-pull simultaneously. It goes more relaxed that way. So when you do this motion, you're punching to the nose. I'm turning to the center for Lan-Sau. The arm keeps going by itself. Then it pulls back in, Tong-Sau, Chuen-Sau, Tong-Sau, Hyun-Sau, and back. All in one motion, you are fully doing your Fak-Sau with force. You want to get the force of your stance turn into the Fak-Sau, but your stance stops by the time that you're in Lan-Sau. And the hand keeps going once the body has stopped. So it's this motion, and the arm continues by itself. And it should be where when I punch, I'm here in line with my body, and I'm not going past behind my body. It's going to the edge of my body, and then the elbow, which is pointing towards my back when I'm doing the Fak-Sau, now points to the ground so I can bring that Fook-Sau back in. The height of my fingertips stays at that height all the way back in. I don't want to be pushing down with this. I want to keep my hand level, my fingertips level. There's going to be this angle here, so it's not like my whole hand's level, so my fingertips are on that same height all the way out here, all the way back in. And then I do the Chuen-Sau from there. So I think I've covered all the details for that part of the form. So again, from the very beginning all the way through, I won't talk, I'll just do it. And that's that set. Doing that, just realize there's one more detail. Your eyes are important here. They lead the movement of your turning. So my eyes always lead, then my hand, and then my body goes. So my hands go out, I look with my eyes to the side I'm going to go to, and I turn my hands that way, then my body turns that way. And I look with my eyes to this side, then my hands turn, then my body goes. I look with my eyes, my body, my hands, and my body. Then you have this whole part of the form. And then same thing here, I look with my eyes, and then the hand, then the body. Hand comes up, eyes, and then the hand kind of moves simultaneously with the body there because it's the body moving the hand. And then I look with my eyes back as I pull my hands back, my body turns. I look with my eyes, my body moves. I look with my eyes, then I'm back. This in the center, punch to the nose. Look with your eyes. Fak-Sau. Fook-Sau, look with your eyes back forward where your hand goes. The eyes lead the hands, and the hands lead the body. So that is the third set of Chum Kiu. The next video will go over the fourth set, so stay tuned for that.